A queen traveled nearly 1,500 miles across deserts, mountains, and dangerous trade routes, carrying a fortune in gold, spices, and precious stones. She came to challenge the wisest king who ever lived. But here is the mystery. Why would one of the most powerful women in the ancient world risk everything just to meet King Solomon? And perhaps even more intriguing, why did history remember the meeting but forget who she really was? To this day, archaeologists, historians, and biblical scholars still debate her identity. Was she a wealthy Arabian ruler, an African queen, a political strategist, or was there a secret behind her visit that has been hidden for nearly 3,000 years? Because the deeper we investigate the Queen of Sheba, the stranger her story becomes. The story begins in the Bible. In the first book of Kings, we are introduced to a woman known simply as the Queen of Sheba. No personal name, no clear birthplace, no detailed biography, only a title. Yet somehow she became one of the most famous women in history. The Bible tells us she heard reports about Solomon's extraordinary wisdom. His fame had spread across nations. Kings admired him. Merchants spoke about him. Travelers carried stories of his wealth from one end of the known world to the other. But hearing stories and believing them are two different things. The Queen of Sheba decided to test him herself, and that decision would create one of history's greatest mysteries. Imagine the scene. A massive royal caravan crossing scorching deserts, camels loaded with treasure, servants, guards, advisors, and merchants traveling for weeks, perhaps months. This was not a casual visit. This was a royal expedition, which raises an important question. Was she truly seeking wisdom, or was there another reason for the journey? Many historians believe the answer may lie in economics. During Solomon's reign, Israel sat at a strategic crossroads connecting Africa, Arabia, and Asia. Trade routes passed through his territory. Control of these routes meant immense wealth. Meanwhile, the kingdom of Sheba was itself one of the richest trading powers of the ancient world. Its merchants controlled valuable commodities that were worth their weight in gold. Most famous among them were frankincense and myrrh. Today, they may sound ordinary, but in the ancient world, they were luxury products used in temples, palaces, and religious ceremonies. Demand was enormous. Profits were staggering. Could the famous meeting between Solomon and the Queen of Sheba have been one of history's most important business negotiations? If so, why does the biblical account focus so heavily on wisdom? The mystery deepens. According to Scripture, the queen arrived with difficult questions. She challenged Solomon with riddles and tests. The Bible does not reveal the questions. That detail has been lost, but it tells us Solomon answered all of them. Nothing was too difficult for him. And when she witnessed his wisdom, his palace, his officials, and the organization of his kingdom, she was astonished. In some translations, it says there was no more spirit in her. In modern language, she was completely overwhelmed. But what exactly impressed her so much? Was it Solomon's intelligence, his wealth, or something else entirely? Ancient traditions outside the Bible offer fascinating clues. In Ethiopia, the Queen of Sheba is known as Makeda. According to the famous Ethiopian text known as the Kebra Nagast, her visit to Solomon changed history forever. The story claims that she and Solomon had a son. His name was Menelik. And according to Ethiopian tradition, Menelik became the founder of a royal dynasty that ruled Ethiopia for centuries. This claim transformed the Queen of Sheba from a visiting monarch into the mother of a nation. But can any of it be verified? That is where things become complicated. Archaeologists have searched for evidence connecting Solomon and the Queen of Sheba for generations. Some discoveries seem promising, Others raise even more questions. One of the biggest debates centers around the location of Sheba itself. Most scholars point toward southern Arabia in modern-day Yemen. Why? Because the ancient kingdom of Saba was located there. Its people became wealthy through international trade. Their inscriptions, monuments, and ruins still exist. The region contains evidence of remarkable engineering and sophisticated civilization. One of the most famous examples is the Great Marib Dam. Built thousands of years ago, it transformed desert land into fertile agricultural territory. The scale of the project was astonishing for its time. Whoever ruled this kingdom controlled immense resources. Could the Queen of Sheba have governed this thriving Arabian empire? Many historians think so. But the case is not closed, because Ethiopia also presents compelling evidence. For centuries, Ethiopian traditions have preserved detailed stories about Makeda. Ancient churches, manuscripts, and royal records all maintain that the queen belonged to Ethiopia. Some scholars argue that trade networks connected Arabia and the Horn of Africa so closely that the kingdom may have stretched across both regions. What if both sides are partly correct? What if Sheba was not confined to one modern country at all? What if it controlled territories on both sides of the Red Sea? Suddenly, the mystery becomes much larger. Now another fascinating question emerges. Why does the Bible never tell us the queen's name? Think about that for a moment. The names of countless kings are recorded, yet one of the most influential women in biblical history remains unnamed. Was her identity already well known to ancient audiences, or has a crucial piece of history disappeared? The silence is striking, and historians continue to debate its meaning. Then there is Solomon himself. According to biblical accounts, his wisdom was unmatched. People traveled from distant lands simply to hear him speak. But some researchers wonder whether wisdom alone explains the queen's visit. Ancient rulers often combined diplomacy, trade, intelligence gathering, and alliance building. A royal visit could serve multiple purposes simultaneously. Perhaps the queen came to evaluate a rising power. Perhaps she wanted a strategic alliance. Or perhaps she genuinely sought knowledge. The truth may be a combination of all three, but we may never know. As archaeology advances, new discoveries continue to shed light on the world she inhabited. Ancient inscriptions reveal thriving trade networks stretching across continents. Artifacts demonstrate connections between Africa, Arabia, and the Mediterranean. Luxury goods moved across vast distances. Ideas traveled alongside them. The Queen of Sheba lived in a world far more interconnected than many people imagine, and that realization changes how we view her story. She was not a figure from an isolated kingdom. She was part of a global network of commerce, politics, religion, and culture. Yet despite all this research, the central mystery remains unsolved. Who was she really? An Arabian queen? An Ethiopian ruler? A monarch of a larger trans-Red Sea empire? A historical figure wrapped in legend? Or a legend built around a real historical figure? Every answer creates new questions, and perhaps that is why her story continues to captivate us. Thousands of years have passed. Empires have risen and fallen. Cities have vanished beneath the sands. Yet the Queen of Sheba remains unforgettable, not because we know everything about her, but because we do not. She stands at the intersection of history, archaeology, legend, and faith. A woman whose journey changed the course of tradition across multiple civilizations. A queen whose influence stretched far beyond her own lifetime, and whose true identity may still be waiting to be discovered, perhaps somewhere beneath the deserts of Arabia, or within the ancient highlands of Ethiopia, or hidden in records that have yet to be uncovered. The final clue still exists. Until then, The Queen of Sheba remains one of history's greatest mysteries. A ruler remembered across continents, a visitor who challenged a king, and a woman whose story refuses to disappear. If you enjoyed this journey into one of the Bible's greatest mysteries, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Ancient Truth TV for more investigations into hidden history, ancient civilizations, and biblical enigmas. And now we want to hear from you. Who do you believe the Queen of Sheba really was? An Arabian queen, an Ethiopian ruler, or something even more surprising? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because sometimes the greatest mysteries are not the ones we've solved. They're the ones we're still searching for.